8 years after my husband abandoned me because I was pregnant, he invited me to Christmas dinner, hoping to embarrass the childless ex-wife he thought had failed at life. He expected me to arrive alone, broken and forgotten. Instead, I landed in a helicopter with the 4 children he never knew existed, and the look on his face was worth every painful year I survived without him. The text arrived on a freezing December evening while I sat in my office overlooking downtown Austin. Marcus Reynolds. For a second, I thought I was seeing things. 8 years had passed since the man who swore he would love me forever walked away the moment I told him I was pregnant. He called me a liar, filed for divorce before hearing a single heartbeat, changed his phone number, and disappeared from my life as if I had never mattered. Now he wanted me to attend Christmas dinner. I read the message 3 times. Come to Christmas dinner at Mom's house in Boulder on December 25th. The family wants to see you one last time. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because I knew exactly what he was planning. Marcus still imagined I was the devastated 25-year-old woman he had abandoned. He pictured me struggling, lonely, and desperate for acceptance. He had absolutely no idea what my life had become. Kesha, my assistant Dana, asked from my office doorway, "You're not actually thinking about going, are you?" I looked out across the city lights and smiled. "Oh, I'm definitely going." Christmas morning arrived beneath a bright blue sky. The helicopter lifted above the Austin skyline carrying the 4 greatest blessings of my life. "Mama, are we really meeting Grandpa today?" Noah asked. And Grandma Sophia added excitedly. Maybe, I answered, smiling. Across from me sat 2 boys and 2 girls in matching holiday outfits. They were 8 years old, full of life, and every one of them carried Marcus' eyes, his smile, and his unmistakable stubborn jaw. The irony almost made me laugh. The man who ran away from becoming a father had unknowingly become the father of quadruplets. As the snow-covered mountains outside Boulder came into view, my heartbeat quickened. It wasn't fear anymore. It was anticipation. At exactly 11:47 a.m., the helicopter settled onto the lawn in front of Patricia Reynolds' house. Snow swirled through the air as the rotors slowed. I stepped out first, then Noah, then Ethan, then Sophia, finally Olivia. 4 beautiful children. 4 living reminders of the family Marcus had abandoned before it even had a chance to begin. The front door flew open. Patricia appeared first. The moment she saw the children, her eyes widened. A wineglass slipped from her hand and shattered across the floor. "Good. Let them be shocked." I gathered my children around me and asked softly, "Ready?" They nodded together. We walked to the front door as silence settled over the house. Then I saw him. Marcus looked older and heavier, but his confident smile vanished the instant his eyes landed on the children. Standing beside him was a blonde woman wearing a bright red dress and an engagement ring that sparkled beneath the Christmas lights. His new fiancée. Marcus stared at Noah, then Ethan, then Sophia, then Olivia. His face turned ghost white as recognition slowly replaced confusion. The resemblance was impossible to ignore. Marcus the blonde whispered, "Who are those children?" He couldn't answer. I stepped inside the house and every conversation stopped. "Merry Christmas," I said calmly. No one moved. No one even breathed. I rested my hand on Olivia's shoulder, looked directly into the eyes of the man who had abandoned us, and quietly said, "I brought the grandchildren you never knew you had." The engagement ring box slipped from Marcus' trembling hand. His fiancée gasped. Patricia staggered backward. Then one of my children looked up at Marcus with a warm, innocent smile, opened their mouth to ask a single question, and the entire room froze before anyone could react. "Are you our father?" Noah's question fell into the room like a stone through glass. Marcus stopped breathing. His fiancée Claire slowly turned toward him. "Father, I watched the color drain from his face as all 4 children stared at him with the same dark brown eyes he saw every morning in the mirror. Kesha, he whispered, you told me you were pregnant with 1 baby. No, I said calmly. I told you I was pregnant. You left before the first ultrasound. Patricia covered her mouth. Marcus looked at the children, again, counting them as though the number might somehow change. Quadruplets. 2 boys, 2 girls. Claire stepped away from him. You abandoned a pregnant wife. Marcus finally found his voice. She lied to me. The room went silent. I almost smiled. About what, Marcus? His jaw tightened. You said the baby was mine. I reached into my handbag. For 8 years, I had carried no photographs of Marcus, no wedding ring, no reminder of the life we once shared. But I had kept 1 envelope.
I placed it on the Christmas table.
What is that? Patricia whispered. The DNA test Marcus demanded through his attorney 8 years ago. Marcus stared at the envelope. His face changed. He remembered. Of course he remembered. The test had confirmed the pregnancy was his. But Marcus had disappeared before the final medical report revealed something else. I opened the envelope and slid the document across the table. Patricia read the first page, then the second. Her hands began trembling. Oh my God. Marcus grabbed the papers. Claire leaned over his shoulder. I watched his eyes move across the report until he reached the final paragraph. His knees nearly buckled. Because the report didn't simply confirm that Marcus was the biological father of my 4 children. It revealed a genetic marker, a rare hereditary condition carried through the Reynolds male bloodline. Marcus slowly looked at Ethan. Then, Noah? No, he whispered. Patricia suddenly began crying, but she wasn't looking at the children. She was staring at Marcus. Mom, he asked. Patricia shook her head. There's something I should have told you 35 years ago. Marcus froze. And as Patricia reached for the same DNA report, I realized this Christmas dinner was no longer about the children Marcus had abandoned. It was about the secret his own mother had buried. Patricia's hands shook so violently that the DNA report slipped onto the table. Everyone stared at her. Marcus frowned. Mom, what are you talking about? Tears rolled down Patricia's cheeks. I never wanted you to find out like this. The room fell completely silent. Claire slowly removed her engagement ring and placed it on the table. I think it'll wait outside, she whispered.
No, Patricia said firmly. You deserve to hear this too.
Marcus looked from his mother to me. Kesha, did you know about this? I shook my head. I only discovered the genetic report after the children were born. I came here because my children deserved to know where they came from, not because I knew your family's secret. Patricia closed her eyes. Marcus, the man who raised you, wasn't your biological father. The words hit the room like thunder. Marcus blinked.
What?
The DNA marker doesn't belong to your father because he wasn't your father. Marcus laughed nervously. This isn't funny. It's the truth. Patricia slowly sat down. 36 years ago, before I married Richard Reynolds, I had a brief relationship with another man. Marcus stared at her. You cheated? No. It happened before your father and I got back together. She took a deep breath. When I found out I was pregnant, Richard insisted we keep the secret. He loved me enough to raise you as his own. Marcus stepped backward. No. Patricia nodded through tears. Richard signed your birth certificate. He never told me. He promised he never would. Marcus grabbed the edge of the table to keep himself standing. So who was my real father? Patricia looked toward the fireplace. He died before you were born. Silence filled the room. Then Ethan gently tugged on my sleeve. Mama, is Grandpa still our grandpa? My heart broke. I knelt beside him. The man who raised your father was a good man. Family isn't only about blood. Patricia burst into tears. Richard loved Marcus more than life itself. Marcus covered his face. For the first time since I had ever known him, he looked completely lost. Then Noah quietly asked, if you're our dad, why didn't you come find us? The innocent question hurt more than any accusation. Marcus looked at the 4 children. His voice cracked. I didn't believe your mom. Sophia tilted her head. But the paper says we're your children. Marcos couldn't answer. Olivia reached into her small backpack. I made you something. She handed him a folded Christmas card. On the front was a crayon drawing of 6 people holding hands beneath a Christmas tree. Above it said, written in uneven letters, maybe our family can still be friends. Marcus opened the card. Inside was a single sentence. We don't hate you. We just wanted to meet you. A tear slipped down his face. The room remained silent. Then the front door suddenly burst open. A tall man in a dark overcoat stepped inside. His eyes locked on Patricia. I heard there was a DNA report. Patricia went pale. No. The stranger looked directly at Marcus. My name is Daniel Carter. He swallowed hard. And I believe Eggle parts B, IC format main, Bina comma. Quotation marks or full stop kilikdunga. The room froze. Marcus stared at the stranger. You just said your name is Daniel Carter. The man nodded. I did. Marcus shook his head. My mother said my biological father died before I was born. Daniel looked at Patricia with quiet disappointment. I let her believe that was easier than the truth. Patricia's shoulders slumped. I thought you had died after the accident. I almost did, Daniel replied, but I survived. By the time I recovered, you had married Richard Reynolds. I stayed away because I believed you were happy. Marcus couldn't speak. For 35 years, his entire identity had been built on a lie. Danielle slowly stepped closer. I never married. I never had any other children. I spent years wondering if I had a son somewhere. Marcus' eyes filled with tears. You knew. I only found out last month. How? Daniel pulled a folder from his coat. A private genetic ancestry database matched my DNA with your children's medical records. When I contacted the agency, they told me about the hereditary marker. I hired an investigator, and everything led back to you. The room fell silent again. Claire looked at Marcus. So today you've discovered you have 4 children and a father you never knew existed. Marcus nodded weakly. Then he turned toward me. Kesha. I folded my arms.
What?
I'm sorry. The words were barely audible. I don't expect forgiveness. You don't deserve it, I answered honestly. He lowered his head. I know. Noah stepped forward. Mama says everyone can change if they really want to. Marcus looked at his son. I want to. Sophia smiled shyly. Then don't leave again. Those 4 simple words shattered what was left of Marcus' pride. He dropped to his knees in front of the children and began crying openly. I'm so sorry. I missed every birthday, every Christmas, every first step, every bedtime story. Olivia wrapped her tiny arms around his neck. It's okay. We're here now. Even Patricia couldn't hold back her tears. Daniel quietly placed a hand on Marcus' shoulder. You can't change the past, but you can decide what kind of father and what kind of man you'll be from today. Marcus nodded. You'll spend the rest of my life making this right. Just as hope began to return to the room, the front door swung open once more. A uniformed sheriff stepped inside. Marcus Reynolds. Marcus stood slowly.
Yes.
The sheriff removed his hat. I have a court order and some very serious news. Everyone held their breath. The sheriff looked directly at Marcus. Someone has filed a criminal fraud complaint. Using your name and the evidence suggests you may have been framed. The sheriff handed Marcus a thick envelope. I'm sorry, he said quietly, but I have to ask you to come with me for questioning. Marcus looked stunned. Fraud? I've never committed fraud. You can explain that at the station. Claire stepped forward. There has to be some mistake. The sheriff sighed. I hope there is. Marcus opened the envelope. His face turned pale. Inside were copies of bank transfers, forged contracts, and fake investment documents. Every page carried his signature. Except they're forged, Marcus whispered. I took one of the papers. The signature looked convincing, but something was wrong. This isn't your handwriting, I said. Marcus looked at me in surprise. You can tell. I spent 6 years watching you sign checks. Daniel leaned closer. Someone worked very hard to copy your signature. Patricia suddenly gasped. Wait. Everyone turned toward her. I've seen these documents before. Marcus frowned. What? Patricia slowly lowered herself into a chair. About a year ago, Richard's former business partner came asking strange questions about the family trust. What was his name? The sheriff asked. Patricia swallowed hard. Victor Hale. The sheriff's expression changed instantly. You know Victor Hale? I wish I didn't. The sheriff looked around the room. Victor Hale is already under investigation for identity theft, financial fraud, and stealing millions from family estates. Marcus clenched his fists. So he used my name. We believe so. Just then, Marcus' phone rang. An unknown number? He answered. Hello. A cold voice laughed. Merry Christmas, Marcus. Who is this? You don't recognize the man who's about to destroy your life. Marcus' eyes widened. Victor. Very good. The room went silent as Victor continued. By tomorrow morning, the police will think you stole $20 million. Marcus' jaw tightened. What do you want? Victor chuckled. Nothing. I already won. The line went dead. The sheriff immediately turned to his deputy. Place that call. The deputy hurried outside. I looked at Marcus. For the first time in 8 years, I believed him. He wasn't lying. Someone else had carefully built a trap around him. Then, Noah tugged on my sleeve. Mama?
Yes.
He pointed toward the living room window. A man is watching our house. Everyone rushed to the window. Across the snowy street, a black SUV was parked beneath a pine tree. The driver wore dark sunglasses. As soon as he realized who had seen him, he smiled, started the engine, and slowly drove away. The sheriff narrowed his eyes. That wasn't a coincidence. Daniel folded his arms. No, he wanted us to know he was watching. Marcus looked at his 4 children, then at me. I've already lost 8 years with my family. His voice became firm. I'm not letting anyone take the rest. Outside, hidden in the falling snow, the black SUV stopped at the end of the street. Inside, Victor Hale looked at a photograph of the Reynolds family. Then he smiled and said to the woman sitting beside him, "We still have no idea who the real mastermind is." The woman leaned forward into the light. Everyone in the house believed she had died years ago, but she was very much alive. The black SUV disappeared into the snow. Inside Patricia's house, no one spoke. The sheriff broke the silence. I need everyone to stay here until we know who is behind this. No one leaves alone. Marcus looked at me. Kesha, please keep the kids safe. I already have for 8 years, I replied. He lowered his eyes. I know. 20 minutes later, the sheriff's deputy returned carrying a tablet. We traced the SUV. Who owns it? The sheriff asked. The deputy hesitated. It was rented, using a fake identity. Of course, it was, Daniel muttered. Then another notification appeared on the screen. Third traffic cameras captured the passenger. The deputy turned the tablet around. Everyone looked. Patricia screamed. The tablet slipped from the deputy's hands. No, Patricia whispered.
It can't be.
Marcus grabbed the device. His face drained of color. The woman in the security image had dark hair, sharp green eyes, and the same silver necklace she had worn every day. Marcus whispered a single name. Vanessa. Cleo found. Who's Vanessa? Marcus swallowed hard. My older sister. I looked at Patricia. You told me Marcus was an only child. Patricia burst into tears. He was after Vanessa died. Marcus stared at his mother. What do you mean after she died? Patricia covered her face. 20 years ago, the police told us Vanessa had died in a boating accident. Daniel slowly shook his head. Then someone lied. The sheriff picked up the tablet again. The woman in this footage is definitely alive. Marcus couldn't believe what he was seeing. My sister. Why would she work with Victor Hale? Before anyone could answer, the television suddenly turned on by itself. Static filled the screen. Then a live video appeared. Victor Hale smiled into the camera. Beside him stood Vanessa. Alive, calm, smiling. Merry Christmas, Reynolds family, Victor said. I hope you are enjoying the reunion. Marcus stepped closer to the TV. Vanessa. She looked straight into the camera. Hello, little brother. His voice shook. We buried you. You buried that empty coffin. Patricia collapsed onto the sofa. Why? Vanessa's smile disappeared. Because this family stole my life. Marcus frowned. What are you talking about? Victor answered instead. Everything your father owned, every company, every dollar, should have belonged to Vanessa. Daniel narrowed his eyes. Richard Reynolds left everything to Marcus. Victor nodded. Exactly. Vanessa looked directly at Marcus. And now I am taking it all back. The screen went black. A second later, every phone in the house buzzed at the same time. Marcus looked down. His banking app showed one terrifying message. Account balance 000. Every account, every investment, every company under his name had been impeded in a single coordinated attack. Marcus looked up in horror. Victor hadn't just declared war. He had already begun. Marcus stared at his phone. $0.00. His voice was barely a whisper. Claire checked her own phone. My accounts are frozen too. The sheriff immediately called the cybercrime unit. No one touch anything, he ordered. Within minutes, Marcus' attorney, James Walker, arrived after receiving an emergency call. He examined the banking records. Then he looked up. Marcus, this isn't a normal theft. What do you mean? James placed the documents on the table. Your money wasn't transferred to another account? It wasn't. No. It was locked inside a network of shell companies. Someone planned this for years. Patricia closed her eyes. Victor? James nodded. He couldn't have done it alone. Just then, Dana, my assistant, called my phone. Kesha, are you sitting down? I'm standing. Our company's cybersecurity team detected something strange. My heart skipped a beat.
What?
Someone tried to hack your business accounts this morning. Did they get in? Dana smiled. They failed. Why? Because last year, you approved a complete security upgrade. Every attempt was blocked. I let out a slow breath. Victor had expected me to panic. Instead, he had failed. Marcus looked at me. You protected everything. I learned the hard way that trust isn't a security system. Before anyone could respond, James received an email. He read it. Then his face went white. It's from Victor. What does it say? Marcus asked. James slowly read the message aloud. If you want your fortune back, come alone to the old Reynolds steel factory at midnight. Bring no police, bring no lawyers.
Bring only the truth.
The room fell silent. The sheriff immediately shook his head. It's a trap. Marcus agreed. I know. Daniel looked him in the eyes. So what are you going to do? Marcus looked at his 4 children who were sitting quietly by the Christmas tree. Then he took a deep breath. I'm going. The sheriff folded his arms. No, you're not going alone. Known to everyone in the room. A tiny camera hidden inside. A Christmas wreath had been recording every word. Miles away, Victor Hale watched the live feed and smiled. They're coming. Vanessa stepped beside him. And when they arrive, Victor looked out across the abandoned steel factory where dozens of armed men waited in the shadows. We finished what should have ended 8 years ago. Far above them, a helicopter silently crossed the snowy night sky. No one at the factory noticed it, but someone inside the helicopter was already watching. Victor threw a high-powered camera. Target confirmed. Snow fell heavily over the abandoned Reynolds steel factory. The rusted building stood in darkness as Marcus' SUV stopped a safe distance away. The sheriff had ignored Victor's warning. Police officers surrounded the area from hidden positions. A tactical team waited silently for the signal. Marcus stepped out alone. His heart pounded. Here, for a moment, nothing. Then, floodlights exploded to life. Victor Hale walked out of the shadows, smiling. Beside him stood Vanessa. So Victor said the runaway father finally found his courage. Marcus didn't answer. I came for my family. Victor laughed. Too late. He snapped his fingers. Dozens of armed men appeared from behind shipping containers, aiming their weapons. That exact moment, the helicopter overhead circled once. A calm voice came over the pilot's radio. All units target confirmed. Victor looked up. What was that? Before he could react, powerful spotlights illuminated the factory yard. A booming voice echoed across the steel buildings. Federal agents, drop your weapons immediately. Victor's smile vanished. Vanessa took a frightened step backward. The tactical team stormed through every entrance. Move, move, move. Gunfire erupted. Marcus dove behind a concrete barrier. Victor's men fired wildly. Within seconds, the factory became a battlefield. The sheriff and his deputies joined the assault from the opposite side. One by one, Victor's guards surrendered. But Victor wasn't finished. He grabbed Vanessa by the arm and dragged her toward a hidden tunnel beneath the factory. We're leaving. Marcus saw them running. Victor, ignoring the danger, he chased after them. The tunnel was dark and narrow. Water dripped from the ceiling as footsteps echoed ahead. Finally, Marcus caught up. Victor turned and aimed a pistol directly at him. You should have stayed away. Marcus stood his ground. No more running. Victor pulled the trigger. Bang! Marcus closed his eyes, but the bullet never hit him. Daniel had thrown himself in front of his son. He collapsed to the ground, bleeding from his shoulder. Dad. Marcus cried instinctively, using the word for the first time. Daniel smiled weakly. I finally got the chance to protect my son. Marcus' eyes filled with tears. Jeez took over. He lunged at Victor. The two men crashed onto the wet concrete floor, struggling for the gun. Vanessa screamed. The pistol slid across the tunnel. Marcus landed a hard punch. Victor staggered backward. And suddenly, the old wooden walkway beneath him cracked. His eyes widened. No. With a deafening crash, the floor gave way. Victor plunged into the icy water below. The current pulled him into the darkness. Everyone stared in shock. The sheriff rushed into the tunnel with officers. Secure the area. Rescue teams searched the underground river for hours, but they found only Victor's empty coat. Nobody. The sheriff looked at Marcus grimly. If we didn't recover him, there's a chance he's still alive. Marcus turned toward his injured father. Daniel was being lifted onto a stretcher. As the ambulance doors closed, Daniel whispered, "This isn't over." Marcus nodded. He knew Daniel was right, because while everyone had been focused on Victor, no one had noticed that Vanessa had quietly disappeared into the night. 3 days after Christmas, the Reynolds mansion was surrounded by reporters. Every news channel carried the same headline: "Businessman framed in multi-million-dollar fraud plot." Marcus had been cleared of the criminal allegations, but Victor Hale and Vanessa had vanished. The police searched across 3 states. Nothing. No trace. Inside the house, the children were helping Patricia decorate cookies. For the first time in years, laughter filled the rooms. Then my phone rang. An unknown number. I answered cautiously. "Hello." A familiar voice whispered, "Kesa, don't tell anyone you're talking to me." It was Vanessa. "What do you want?" "I don't have much time." Her voice trembled. "Victor lied to me." I stayed silent. He promised he only wanted the family fortune. What happened? There never was a plan to share the money. He used me. Before I could respond, I heard shouting in the background. Vanessa gasped. "He's here." The call disconnected. I immediately called the sheriff. Using the phone signal, they traced the call to an abandoned mountain cabin outside Boulder. Within minutes, police helicopters and tactical teams surrounded the area. Marcus insisted on going. "I have to end this." When the officers entered the cabin, they found Vanessa tied to a chair, bruised, terrified. Victor stood behind her, holding a pistol. "You actually came." He laughed. Marcus stepped forward. "It's over, Victor." "No." Victor smiled coldly. "It ends when I say it ends." He pulled Vanessa to her feet. "She betrayed me." Vanessa looked at Marcus with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry. I was angry at the family for years. I believed every lie he told me." Marcus nodded slowly. "You still have a choice." Victor pressed the gun harder against her head. "There are no choices." Outside, a sniper had Victor in sight, but the angle wasn't clear. One wrong shot could hit Vanessa. The tension became unbearable. Then Noah's voice echoed from outside the cabin. "Dad." Everyone froze. Marcus' face turned white. The children weren't supposed to be there. I turned in horror. The 4 children had slipped away from the deputies and followed us. Victor smiled. "Perfect." He pointed the gun toward the doorway. "If anyone moves," a loud crack echoed through the mountains. Victor looked down in disbelief. A red stain spread across his jacket.
The sniper had finally found a clear shot.
Victor dropped gun. He fell to his knees. Police rushed inside, securing the cabin. Marcus pulled Vanessa to safety. Victor looked up one last time. His voice was weak. You haven't won. Then his eyes closed forever. The nightmare was finally over, or so everyone believed. As detectives searched Victor's belongings, they discovered a sealed envelope marked, "Open only if I die." Inside was a handwritten letter. The sheriff read the first line, and his expression changed completely. "There is one more secret," the letter began. "If you're reading this, then the person who truly planned everything is still free." The room fell silent. The sheriff unfolded the rest of Victor's letter. Everyone watched as he read aloud. "Victor Hale was never the mastermind. I was only the weapon. The person who planned everything has been hiding in plain sight from the very beginning." Marcus clenched his fists. "Who is it?" The sheriff turned the page. His expression darkened. "It doesn't give a name." Instead, there was a single clue. "Follow Richard Renault's last will." Patricia looked up in shock.
Richard's will.
Daniel frowned. "We've all read it, not the original," the sheriff replied.
What?
James Walker Marcus. Attorney hurried to his office and returned an hour later carrying a fireproof box. Inside was Richard Reynolds' original handwritten will. James carefully opened it. "There are two versions." Marcus stared at him. "Two?" James nodded. "The one filed with the court and this one?" As everyone compared the documents, one sentence was missing from the official copy. Daniel read it aloud. "If anything happens to Marcus, every Reynolds asset shall be transferred to the chairman of the Reynolds Family Trust." Marcus frowned. "I don't remember a chairman." Patricia gasped. "There wasn't one." James slowly closed the file. "There is now." He looked toward the doorway. Everyone turned. An elderly man stepped inside, dressed in an expensive black suit. He smiled politely. "My name is Harold Bennett. I've managed the Reynolds Family Trust for 22 years. Marcus narrowed his eyes. "I've never met you." Harold smiled. "Exactly." The sheriff stepped forward. "Mr. Bennett, you're under arrest for conspiracy, fraud, and murder." Harold laughed. "You have no proof." The sheriff held up Victor's letter. "We have enough to start." Harold calmly removed his gloves. "You still don't understand." He looked directly at Marcus. "I didn't want your money. I wanted the company." He smiled again. "And now, the board of directors has already voted to remove you as CEO." Marcus' phone buzzed. A company email. He opened it. His eyes widened. Effective immediately, Marcus Reynolds has been removed as Chief Executive Officer. Harold's smile grew wider. "I've been planning this for 20 years. Before anyone could react, FBI agents rushed into the room. "Harold Bennett, don't move." Harold slowly raised his hands. "You may arrest me, but you'll never find the missing billions." As agents led him away, he looked over his shoulder and smiled one last time. The money was never the price. It was the distraction. Marcus looked at me. "What does that mean?" Before I could answer, my assistant Dana called again. "Kesha, what happened?" "You need to get to your headquarters." "Why?" Dana's voice shook. "Our servers have been breached, and someone has just released thousands of confidential company files to the public." The real attack had only just begun. Dana's words echoed through my phone. "Our servers have been breached." I grabbed my laptop and logged into the company's emergency system. Within seconds, I understood what had happened. The files released online weren't confidential client records. They were fake. Someone had planted them months earlier, expecting to use them when the time was right. I smiled. "They hacked the decoy server." Marcus looked at me. "You knew this might happen." "I stopped trusting luck a long time ago." Our cybersecurity director joined the video call. We traced the attack.
Where?
A warehouse on the outskirts of Denver. The FBI moved immediately. When agents raided the building, they found dozens of computers fake, passports, stacks of cash, and the missing billions. Harold Bennett had hidden through shell companies. Every dollar was recovered. Within hours, news channels across the country reported that the Reynolds' fortune had been restored. Harold Bennett Victor's accomplices and the remaining members of the fraud network were all arrested. Vanessa accepted responsibility for her role and agreed to testify. Her cooperation exposed every part of the conspiracy, earning her a reduced sentence. Months later, spring arrived. The bitterness that had once consumed the Reynolds family had finally begun to fade. Marcus never asked me to take him back. Instead, he showed up every weekend for the children. He attended soccer games, school plays, birthdays, and bedtime stories. Slowly, he became the father they deserve. One sunny afternoon, Noah looked up at me. Mama, yes, do happy endings happen because people change or because people forgive? I smiled and brushed his hair back. Sometimes both. Across the park, Marcus and Daniel were laughing together while teaching Ethan how to throw a baseball. Sophia and Olivia chased butterflies with Patricia, whose laughter sounded younger than it had in years. The scars of the past would never disappear, but they no longer controlled our future. I looked at the 4 children, who had once been the greatest secret of my life. Now they were my greatest blessing. For 8 years, I believed losing my husband had destroyed my future. Instead, it gave me the strength to build a life no one could ever take away. As the sun set behind the trees, the children ran toward us together. Marcus smiled. Family photo. I nodded, not because the past had been forgotten, but because the future was finally worth remembering. The end. Before you go, would you forgive Marcus after everything he did? Comment your answer below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell for more emotional family revenge stories.